At Christmas dinner, my sister's kid shoved his plate toward me and said, "Mom says you should serve, not eat." Everyone burst out laughing. I picked up my coat and left. That night, Mom texted, "Stay away." I replied, "Sure." The payments stay away too. By midnight, their angry calls started pouring in. Every holiday was the same. I'd show up, cook, set the table, clean, smile, nod, and sit wherever they told me. Like a maid they didn't have to pay. They never said it out loud, but it was clear in the way they moved around me. I wasn't family, I was staff. It had been that way since I moved out. Once I got a steady job, Mom started hinting about how lucky I was compared to Lauren. Lauren who stayed local. Lauren who married young and divorced younger. Lauren who had Carter at 21 and acted like that excused everything. And Mom bought right into it. She'd say things like, "She's doing her best, Abby. Be a little supportive. You don't know what it's like being a single mom." What she really meant was, "You don't have a husband or a kid, so make yourself useful." This Christmas I got there at 2. Dinner was scheduled for 5. Lauren strolled in at 3:30 with nothing but a store-bought pie and Carter complaining about how bored he was. I was already elbow-deep in mashed potatoes and grease. Mom took one look at Lauren and said, "There's my girl." To me she said, "Don't forget to baste the ham again. It dries out when you forget." I didn't forget. I never forget. But I nodded anyway. By the time dinner was ready I was tired. Not physically, it wasn't that kind of tired. It was the kind that sinks in when you realize you've let yourself be used for too long, and the people doing it don't even see it. Or maybe they do. Maybe that's the worst part. We all sat down. I wasn't even seated properly before Carter shoved his plate across the table at me. Didn't look at me. Didn't say anything at first. Just pushed it like I was the help. Then he said it. "Mom says you should serve, not eat." The silence that followed was half a second long, but it felt like a punch. Then everyone burst out laughing like it was the best joke they'd ever heard. Lauren leaned back and clapped. Mom nearly choked on her wine. Uncle Ray laughed with his mouth full. I looked around the table. No one was uncomfortable. No one was even pretending. They thought it was funny. I stood up, went into the kitchen, grabbed my coat from the chair and walked out the front door. No one followed me. No one called out. No one even paused their laughter. It was bitter cold outside, but I didn't feel it. I got into my car and sat there with the heat off. Just thinking. Not angry. Just tired of pretending I wasn't. I thought about the money. $700 a month, every month, straight to Mom's account for Carter's private school. The excuse was always, "It's just until Lauren gets on her feet." That started 2 years ago. I never saw Lauren apply for a second job. Never saw her go without her nails or her weekly hair appointment. That night after I got home I finally turned my phone on. Around 11 Mom texted, "Stay away if you're going to be like this." No question. No concern. Just a warning like I was a problem that needed removing. I replied, "Sure." The payments stay away too. The first, nothing. Then the calls started. One after another. Mom, Lauren, even the house phone. By midnight the texts were coming in every few minutes. "What the hell is wrong with you? You're seriously cutting off a child? You're heartless. He's just a kid. You embarrassed us." I didn't reply. I turned the phone off again and left it charging in the kitchen while I went to bed. I didn't cry. I didn't stew. I just laid there and stared at the ceiling. It had taken one sentence from a child to make me finally see what I'd been ignoring for years. He didn't come up with that line on his own. That was Lauren's voice. That was Mom's approval behind it. I'd been teaching them how to treat me by never saying no. But this time I had. And for the first time I meant it. The next morning started like any other. Except my phone looked like it had barely survived a war. 13 missed calls. 7 voicemails. Over 25 texts, and that was just from Lauren. Mom had sent another 8. Uncle Ray chimed in once too, asking me to let bygones be bygones. As if being treated like a footstool at Christmas dinner was a minor misunderstanding. I didn't even bother reading everything. I skimmed. Lauren called me heartless 3 different ways. Mom accused me of letting money make me cold. There was something about Carter crying. Yeah, right, and how disappointed they all were. They kept saying family, like it was a leash I'd just slipped out of. I went to work like usual. Didn't tell anyone what had happened. Just answered emails, joined a few calls, kept my head down. But I was buzzing inside. Like something had shifted. For once I didn't feel guilt. I felt free. Still angry, still a little stunned, but not guilty. That part surprised me. At around noon I got a text from the bank. There was an attempted login on the shared savings account I'd opened for Carter's school expenses. I'd closed it the night before. I didn't announce it. I figured my text made it pretty obvious, but I guess they thought I was bluffing. The lockout notification confirmed what I already knew. Lauren was panicking. Then just after lunch I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Carter's school administrator, politely asking me to confirm whether the upcoming tuition payment was still scheduled. I called back and told them no. That was all I said. 2 hours later, I got a message from Lauren's ex-husband, Jared. We hadn't spoken in a while. I had only helped him once, when he needed documentation to prove he'd been paying child support. That was during one of Lauren's more chaotic phases. So I was surprised to hear from him. He didn't waste time. Lauren's telling people you're sabotaging Carter because you're jealous. She said you can't handle not being the center of attention. She's spiraling. I thanked him and hung up. I wasn't surprised. That's always been Lauren's favorite move. Spin the story so she's the victim. Works on Mom. Used to work on me. That evening the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Mom standing there in her coat holding a plastic bag. Probably leftovers. Probably her version of an olive branch. I didn't open the door. She knocked 4 times. I watched her try to peek in through the side window. Then she called me. Twice. Left 1 voicemail. I deleted it without listening. 10 minutes later she left. Slowly, like she expected me to stop her at the last second. I didn't. By Friday afternoon the tone shifted. I got a long, carefully written email from Mom. Gone were the accusations. Now it was regret, confusion, concern. She called my reaction sudden and disproportionate. She claimed Carter didn't know what he was saying, and Lauren was exhausted, not ungrateful. She asked me to show some grace, and remember that family comes before pride. Then the kicker. Your father would be so disappointed in you. I stared at those words for a while. Not because they hurt, but because I realized she didn't know. He didn't know. Dad had been in Europe for months on a business contract. He was in Switzerland last I heard. He left in early September and wasn't supposed to be back until late December, but there had been delays. He didn't know about any of this. I hadn't told him about the money I'd been sending, or how I'd basically been funding his grandson's private school while Lauren treated me like I was her personal housekeeper. But that sentence, that was enough. I forwarded the email to him. No message. No subject. Just the forwarded thread with all of Mom's wording exactly as she wrote it. Every accusation. Every excuse. Every manipulative phrase. He replied 3 hours later. I'll be home Monday. Don't speak to anyone until I do. So I didn't. Dad showed up Monday evening unannounced. I was in sweats, hair a mess, reheating leftovers I barely wanted to eat. The doorbell rang, and when I looked through the peephole, there he was, pulling a small suitcase behind him, dressed in that same dark coat he always traveled in. He looked older than I remembered, probably from the months overseas and the years of keeping peace between 2 grown daughters and a wife who never really tried to hide her favoritism. I opened the door and we just stood there for a second. No dramatic greetings. No rehearsed speeches. He hugged me, held on a little longer than usual. Then he stepped inside, set down his bag and said, I figured this was the better place to land first. We sat in the kitchen. I made tea even though I was still shaking off the surprise of him being there. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't need to. He just said, so I got back and your mother picked me up. She talked nonstop the entire ride. I nodded. Then I read the email. He paused. That told me everything. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. For once, I didn't feel like I had to defend myself. It was so quiet I could hear the heat kick on through the vents. Then he looked at me and said, why didn't you ever tell me how bad it was? I shrugged, but it wasn't just one answer. It was years of swallowing things. I didn't tell him because I thought I could handle it. Because part of me believed maybe they'd change. Because when you're always the strong one, people forget you might need help too. He leaned back in the chair thinking. Then reached into his bag, pulled out a slim black folder and slid it across the table. I opened it. There was a trust account in my name. A balance that made me sit up straight. Not millionaire money, but enough to give me breathing room. Real breathing room. I started to say something, but he held up a hand. Don't. You've given enough, Abby. To all of us. I've been setting this aside since your first promotion. I figured if I ever saw the day you finally got fed up, that would be the time. I just stared at him. He wasn't done. I already talked to the school this morning. Carter won't be going back next term. They'll get a call officially this week, but the decision's made. Lauren doesn't know yet. She'll find out tonight. My stomach tightened. I could already imagine the explosion. Dad continued, voice calm like he was reading a grocery list. I also called the bank and closed the shared account Mom had access to under your name. It was your money. She never should have been using it the way she did. I'll handle the fallout. Let them yell at me for once. I tried to interrupt to say maybe that would make things worse, but he cut me off. You're not the villain, Abby. You've just been letting them rewrite the story for too long. Then he said something that I hadn't realized I needed to hear. You should have walked out of that dinner a long time ago. I hate that it took Carter saying what he did for you to finally leave, but I'm proud you did. No one deserves to be treated like furniture in their own family. He finished his tea, stood up and hugged me again. I'll go have the conversation now. Not for you because it's time. Stay home tonight. Don't answer anything. I'll let you know when the dust settles. Then he left. I stood in the window and watched his taillights disappear down my street. My phone hadn't buzzed all day, like everyone was waiting to see what Dad would say before deciding how mad they should be. I knew the silence wouldn't last. Tuesday morning the messages started again. But this time the tone was different. Tuesday started with Lauren's rage hitting my phone before my alarm even went off. I can't believe what you've done. You're sick. You've always been jealous of me. Admit it. Then Mom chimed in. How dare you turn your father against his own family? I hope you're proud of yourself. You've ruined everything. What she meant was I'd ruined her version of everything, where I stayed quiet and existed in the background while she played matriarch and Lauren pretended to be a struggling saint. What caught me off guard was the third message that popped up 10 minutes later. This one from Carter's school. We've received a formal withdrawal notice from Mr. Robert Caldwell and a request to initiate a records transfer. Please confirm if this matches your intentions. That was the first time it felt real. I sat in my kitchen drinking cold coffee, reading that email over and over. Dad hadn't just said he'd handle it. He did. And it wasn't just about stopping payments. It was pulling Carter out of the school altogether. No half measures. No delays. Then came the unexpected part. At 9:12 a.m. I got an email from someone I didn't know. Subject line, Carter Caldwell. It was from his teacher. She said she wasn't supposed to contact me directly, since technically I wasn't the parent or guardian, but she wanted me to know something. She said Carter had been repeating things about me in class. Not just once or twice but often. Things like she owes us, and she's not really family, and she's lucky we even talked to her. He was 9. He said he parrots what he hears at home. The entitlement is deeply rooted. I'm sorry for what happened to you and I hope someday he learns how to treat people. That was the first message that got to me. Not the attacks from Lauren. Not the guilt from Mom. But that, a stranger seeing exactly what I had been living with for years. I wasn't imagining it. I hadn't overreacted. I just finally reacted. Around noon Dad texted. You up? I answered yes. He called right away. Stunned, he said. The school's notified. I had the conversation last night. What happened? Your mother did what she always does. Played innocent. Tried to say I misunderstood everything. Lauren though, she came out swinging. He yelled. Worse. He started talking legal action. I blinked. Legal action? She claims you made a verbal promise to fund Carter's school through high school. Says you committed to it and she's relying on that financially. She wants to see it honored. Actually laughed. She said that. In front of you. Word for word. I told her if she was suing you she'd be suing me too. I was part of that account. She didn't like that. He paused. But Abby, she's not stopping there. You need to see what she's doing now. He texted me a screenshot. It was Lauren's Facebook profile. Public, of course. She'd posted a long performative status about how she was betrayed by family, how her sister had sabotaged her child's future, and how money makes people cruel. She didn't mention me by name, but anyone with half a brain could piece it together. But it wasn't the post that hit me, it was the comments section. One of her friends wrote, "What a snake. You should expose her." Lauren replied, "Already did. Here's her work email. Feel free." My full name. My company. My contact information right there in the comments for dozens of strangers to see. With a little note, "Let her know what we think." And people had already started replying. I clicked over to my inbox. There were 3 new emails from names I didn't recognize. The first, "You're disgusting. How do you sleep at night?" Second, "If you hate your family so much, why not just disappear?" The third, "I hope your boss sees this. You should be fired." My stomach dropped, but only for a second. Then something else kicked in. Not fear. Not even rage. Clarity. Lauren had officially crossed a line. Publicly posting my job info was a calculated move. Not impulsive. Not heat of the moment. She wanted to hurt me. Embarrass me. Maybe even jeopardize my livelihood. And for what? For deciding I wouldn't fund her lifestyle anymore? She wanted war? She just declared it. And I wasn't backing down. By Wednesday morning I had emails from strangers calling me heartless, bitter, selfish. One of them said I probably couldn't get a man, so I punish women who can. Another told me karma would handle me soon enough. All because Lauren weaponized her pity parade and tossed my work email into the fire. I sat in my office, door shut, staring at my monitor. I hadn't told HR yet. I wasn't even sure if I needed to. But part of me wanted to get ahead of it just in case. The last thing I needed was one of those trolls finding my company's social media and starting a campaign. People these days were relentless, and Lauren clearly didn't care who got pulled into her mess, as long as she didn't have to look in the mirror. That afternoon I got a call from an unknown number. I answered. Is this Abigail Caldwell? Yes. This is attorney Michelle Langston. I'm calling on behalf of Lauren Caldwell regarding an informal warning. She's requested that I reach out before pursuing any formal legal action. I'm obligated to ask, would you be open to mediation? I paused. You're serious? Ma'am. She alleges there was a long-standing verbal agreement that you would fund your nephew's private education. She also believes this sudden withdrawal caused significant emotional and financial harm. Actually laughed. A verbal agreement made under family obligation isn't a contract. And besides, I never agreed to fund Carter's schooling for the next decade. I didn't even agree to fund it for 2 full years. I just kept doing it. That's it. I understand, the attorney said. This is just a preliminary outreach. She hasn't filed anything yet. I hung up. Not rudely, just firmly. It was all noise. Desperate noise. Called Dad. They really got a lawyer, I said. He sighed. Figured she would. I told you, Abby, Lauren's never heard no without a safety net. But it's time she does. I'm speaking with our family lawyer tonight. Let me handle it. Then he asked something strange. Are you free tomorrow night? Yeah. Why? He hesitated for half a second. There's going to be a family dinner. At our house. Just immediate family. I'm calling it. What? Why? Because this ends now. I wanted to say no. I wanted to say let them scream into the void without me there. But something in his voice told me this wasn't going to be just another apology circle. This wasn't going to be Mom trying to smooth things over, and Lauren pretending to cry. Dad was taking control for the first time in years. And if he was stepping in, I wanted to see it. Thursday evening came faster than I expected. I parked in front of my childhood home, the one with the dark green shutters and the half-dead rose bush Mom refused to dig up. Lights were on in the dining room. I could see shadows moving behind the curtain. I stood on the porch for a second before ringing the bell. Then I opened the door. Lauren was already there, arms crossed, lips tight. Mom was in her usual spot at the end of the table, napkin in her lap as if nothing had happened. Dad stood at the head, not sitting. He nodded once when he saw me. Abby, thanks for coming. I sat down. No one said anything for a moment. Then Dad looked at all of us and said, Dog. And no one's walking out until we do. I didn't know what he was about to say. But judging by the way Lauren flinched, I had a feeling she did. The room was silent. You could hear the clock in the hallway ticking between breaths. Dad stayed standing. He didn't raise his voice, didn't slam the table, but somehow he still had the weight of a gavel in the way he spoke. I've been gone a few months. I come back and my family's on the verge of tearing itself apart over money that didn't belong to them in the first place. Lauren scoffed. Quiet but not quiet enough. Dad turned to her. Let me finish. She rolled her eyes but stayed quiet. He looked at me next. Abby, I want you to say whatever you need to say. Everything. Don't hold back. Not tonight. I wasn't expecting that. For years Dad played the peacekeeper. Now he was handing me the mic. I looked at Lauren. Mom. Neither would meet my eyes. So I said it. I've been paying for Carter's school for almost 2 years. No one asked. No one forced me. I did it because I thought I was helping. But somewhere along the way it stopped being help and started being expected. Like I owed it to you. Lauren opened her mouth but Dad raised a hand. Let her finish. I turned to Mom. Every holiday, every birthday, every visit. I'm the one cooking, cleaning, paying for things. You never said thank you. You always acted like it was just my role. Mom's jaw tightened but she didn't speak. And Carter? He didn't come up with that line on his own. That was a 9-year-old repeating what he hears at home. You've taught him that I'm not part of this family, I'm just the one who serves it. Lauren snapped. You're twisting everything. You know that, right? You've always needed to be the center of attention, and the second someone else needs help, you pull the plug and act like a victim. Dad stepped in before I could respond. You filed for legal mediation over money you never earned, Lauren. And now you've doxed your sister online. You gave strangers her work contact. That's beyond petty. That's dangerous. Lauren looked away. Mom shifted uncomfortably but still said nothing. I got a call from Abby's boss yesterday, Dad continued. They received 3 emails. Your Facebook post created a harassment issue for her at work. One more and it becomes a legal problem. I hadn't known about that part. My chest tightened. Dad looked at Mom now. And you, don't sit there in silence and pretend you didn't push this dynamic. I've watched you defend Lauren for years while dismissing Abby's contributions like they were chores she was supposed to do. That stops now. Mom's face flushed. So what? I was supposed to let Carter suffer? Dad shook his head. Well, you were supposed to raise your daughter to handle her life. Instead you stood back while one daughter carried the weight of the other. That ends tonight. He turned to me. I already spoke to our lawyer. If Lauren wants to file something, she'll have to prove a verbal contract existed, and she won't. We're filing a cease and desist regarding the online harassment. That Facebook post is coming down or we escalate. Lauren stood up, face red. This is insane. You're all acting like I'm evil. I'm his mother. I was just trying to punish your sister for setting a boundary, Dad said. Lauren stormed out. The front door slammed so hard the dining room lights flickered. Silence again. Dad finally sat down, exhaled slowly, and looked at me. You should never have had to fight this hard just to be respected. That's on all of us. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the outsider at that table. I felt seen. Dad handed me a small envelope. Inside was a check, more than I expected. This isn't payment. It's just a way to start fixing what should have never been broken. Mom didn't say much the rest of the night. But she didn't argue either. For someone like her, silence was the closest thing to surrender. I left feeling lighter than I had in years. And as I drove home, the one thing I kept thinking was, sometimes the only way to fix a broken pattern is to break it completely. The update. 2 weeks passed. No texts. No calls. No fake apologies. Just silence. Lauren took down the Facebook post 3 days after the cease and desist letter was delivered. No public apology, of course. Just a quiet delete like nothing ever happened. But screenshots don't forget. Carter started public school the following Monday. I didn't hear about it directly, but one of Mom's friends, someone I hadn't blocked fast enough, sent a vague message that read, "It's a shame what's happened to that poor boy." I left it on read. As for Mom, she sent one message a few days ago. "I think we all said things we regret. We should talk." I didn't reply. Dad's been checking in regularly. Nothing heavy. Just normal stuff. Book recommendations, weather updates, a photo of an old sweater I left behind that he found in the attic. The kind of conversations I always wished we had more of. I don't know if my family will ever go back to what it was before, but maybe that's the point. What it was wasn't right. No. Now at least it's honest.